little button up there.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for those who have joined us. This is the monthly regular meeting for the System Performance Committee. It's rooted in the theory of change that if we create homeless response systems that center on voices of people with lived experience of homelessness, then we can focus on responding to real needs and eliminating system inequities to end homelessness. Context: in May of 2022, the COC board approved the KCRHA as its HMIS entity. The System Performance Committee will conduct the HMIS government oversight on behalf of the Continuum of Care Board. Today is March 19th. The time is 2:10. Sorry for getting started a little bit late. And I'm going to pass it to my co-chair. Give us a piece of culture grounding so that as we move forward. Thanks.
Thanks, Marvin. And thanks to previous co-chairs, Ruby and Tamara, for raising up cultural pieces. So I've chosen something very short and sweet for us right now in celebration of the spring that I am intentionally holding space for the sunshine to come through. But there are glimmers of this hope. So I have chosen Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Thank you.
Thank you. For my part, I hope one day we can adopt for the System Performance Committee a land acknowledgement. But until we do, I will offer this. We acknowledge that we reside on the unceded ancestral home of the Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights to this land, including the Duwamish, Snohomish, Suquamish, Muckleshoot, Snoqualmie, Puyallup, and other indigenous people. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. As settlers on this land, we are aware of and strive to continue educating ourselves on the multi-layered injustice that these communities still experience. The Duwamish and other indigenous tribes were the first people to be made houseless in this region. These communities have endured not just genocide and forced displacement by settlers, but also a century-long attack on their language, ceremony, food, medicine, education, governance, and so much more, meaning that they have been denied the right to establish a sovereign tribal government or possess lands in protected trust. Their continued political and economic marginalization is especially apparent in the issues of housing. Today, Native people experience homelessness, cost burden, overcrowding, inadequate housing, and home loan denial at higher rates than any other race or ethnicity here in King County. High rents, land prices push many of them to the fringes of this area, away from community spaces and services. In the midst of this oppression, these indigenous communities have survived and are still here, fighting for their recognition and their sovereignty. Their incredible resilience is evident in the support systems that they have built to combat housing insecurity and homelessness within their communities. We are committed to becoming allies with the Indigenous-led organizations and working with them to find ways to address past and present injustices. We humbly invite all to walk alongside us in this process in whatever way makes sense to you, whether it's learning of the history, advocating for travel, political rights, paying real rent to the Duwamish, or something else. We recognize that undoing such deep-rooted patterns of oppression must be a collective effort, one that involves building and nourishing a constellation of relationships. Thank you. As we, at this point in time, I'd like to start public comment. Is there anyone, attendees? I see a hand. Or I saw
Did we
it.
do, sorry, did we do a roll call and theory of change yet? I'm sorry, I was a little late.
Thank you, Ruby. I did the theory of change, but I didn't do the roll call. What's that? Alex, or Catherine, would you do a roll call for us?
Just give me one. Oh, too many screens.
Too many screens open.
Okay. You want it?
Here. Tamara Bauman.
Here.
Sherry Tillman. Sherry Tillman. Christina Haight. And if I did not pronounce that correctly, I apologize. Ruby Romero.
Here,
Emil Floresca. Marvin Futrell.
Here.
Christina Sawicki
Is here.
is here, yeah. Frank Schott. Ben Vagan.
I'm here.
Victoria Yui Kwan.
Here.
Bella Irons.
Present.
Okay, we have 7 members present. 4 members, sorry, can't count. 4 members absent, quorum is met.
Thank you. I do think that takes us to public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment at the moment?
Okay. Chat. No one in the Q&A, no chat, no hands raised. Do you want to ask a couple more times?
All right. Well, then I will turn it over to my co-chair for the next piece of the agenda. Bella?
Thank you. Do we need to keep it open for another couple of seconds for public comment? Good. Okay. So COC and board updates. Coordinated entry right now, I have that they are focusing on filling their seats. So their recruitment is very active right now. The COC, we do have the HUD open comment period that has a May deadline. Also, the point in time count work group has been stood up. So we have the go ahead, the green light to move forward on that as well. And the youth advisory board, we actually have on the agenda here that we are hoping to have them present in either April or May and have extended those monthly meeting dates to have that. Let's see, what else do we have here? That's what I have right now on the agenda for the board updates. I do not have any other committees or board updates at current. Marvin, would you like me to, oh, Ruby, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Hi, Bella. Thank you so much for giving these updates for our board and committees. I just wanted to offer that we have been working hard on getting a application together that's a little bit easier and more effective on filling our seats. It's just going to be released here. I think it might be released this week. Don't quote me on that, but it's going to be very useful for anybody who is a member of the COC that wants to be involved on any of these work groups or committees that are currently looking for people to be seated. So just keep an eye out for that. And we're looking forward to that. Yeah, we're just looking forward to filling those seats, and we're excited that people are interested. So keep your eye out for that. And thanks, Bella. That's the only thing I had to add.
Thank you, Ruby. I have seen comments coming in that people are interested in. Where will that be posted, or how will that be posted? Is it individually from the people that have emailed in and requested? Will it be put up on the website? Do you know?
That's a great question, and I think I'll leave that to Kelsey to give, like, she might not be here in this call right now, but I would say the best thing I can offer is that we will have that application available on the board and committee's website to, so I would, check back in a week just to be sure, and hopefully we'll have it up there under the boards and committees HUD COC page.
Great, thanks. Is there any other comments or questions? Oh, hold on a second. It looks like somebody is in the Q&A.
No one's in the Q&A.
Okay. Marvin, do you want me to move forward with Systems Performance Committee items? Yeah,
Sure.
okay. So as we discussed, we've started, and as the board has seen, we've started our communications plan. So we have weekly SPC, Systems Performance Committee, planning meetings. And those planning meetings, please attend. Simply contact Marvin and Daniel and myself, please, so that we know that somebody wants to be in attendance. And so, we make sure that we have the time and the focus for any engagement or anything that you're participating in. But we also have the updates every week that I'm sending out. And this is part of our communications plan that we are moving forward with. We have the intention of having our website updated so that we meet the Public Comments Act and have our monthly meeting agendas posted at least 7 days prior. And really just setting the pace so that we have a lot more information out there ahead of time for people to engage in, as well as more transparency and engagement in communications overall. And so there are a couple of things that have come up in the last couple of weeks since we had a monthly meeting, besides the weekly updates, besides opening it up to board members to attend. But getting the website up to date, and also wanting to engage more in-person meetings. So in our emails to the SPC committee members, we've requested that people let us know about any kind of larger events, public events coming up this year that we should put on our roster and look at being able to table or being a part of. And so we extend this again here during this meeting so that any interested persons to be involved in the SPC on the committee, you heard from Ruby, there'll be applications up soon, but for those that are already involved and for others that are interested in us participating in more in-person events, we would love to know about those. And please request to have you reach out to Marvin and Daniel and I so that we can look at scheduling those and fulfilling any collaborations or commitments, that we would agree to in the future. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, coordination with the COC co-chairs. Yes, we have this getting aligned too as part of our communications plan. So really trying to rein in and streamline a lot of this bridging that happens between the KCRHA and the COC and the SPC's work, and really trying to, look at not doubling any work amongst the committees and subcommittees, but, how can we help each other, streamline at least communications right now. And this is a large part of my background, so I'm trying to bring this to the table for us, but I'm always open for comment and ideas and, interpretations. So again, I invite people to reach out to us with those opportunities, please. Did I miss anything? I think I covered all of the.
That's good.
The skills assessment, it's still in review. I apologize. The skills assessment is still in review. That's all I have.
Well, I will just dovetail on. I would like to dovetail on the skills assessment. While the assessment's in review, it is imperative that as a system performance committee, that we understand our own strengths and weaknesses as we look at the amount of work that we will review over a given year. The opportunity was given to the System Performance Committee in January that we could set up training so that we would be better at the work that was being asked of us. So while it's under review, we still hope to get that skill assessment out so that we can be as strong as possible today and improving for tomorrow. So thanks, Bella.
Yeah, thank you for adding that, Marvin. Yeah, the context, I know that there's a lot of moving pieces, and that's why I'm trying to give updates to the committee members. But, for everyone else that's attending, everybody that's part of our COC community, we have a couple of really wonderful opportunities right now with the HUD comments. Only in a short time period. So we're trying to move that forward as quickly as we can. We would love to have more participation with that, as well as the point in time count subcommittee. That was really important to have stood up. And now we have this opportunity as well to get a jump start on that information or on that knowledge gathering and how we set things up for next year. In even better ways. So we would love more people coming in, participating, and communications is a really important aspect of that. So skills assessment and taking the skills assessment is my goal, to have that skills assessment finalized so that everybody can participate, because I realize that we've been talking about it now for a little bit, but it needs to be done so that you can get involved in it too. So thank you for your patience, everyone, as well.
Thanks, Bella. We hopefully will receive another update, but hopefully we will hear back from the YAB, the Youth Action Board, for presentation in either next month or in the great month of May. So hopefully we will be able to inform folks when we hear of what time that the YAB has given us. On the HUD Data Standards open comment period, it's due in May. Next steps need to be setting a time and place for that work group to meet and getting invitations out. I would say that would probably need that. You may expect that within a week or two from this meeting. So no later than the start of next month, but those will be the next steps. If you're interested, please reach out to us right away so that we can bring more of a core group together to continue the outreach for that HUD comment period. Daniel, did you have anything to add?
Thank you. Question, Marvin. I don't think I have anything to add aside from just emphasizing the importance of this open comment period with HUD. We're going into we're moving forward in time with a new federal administration. I'm tracking on my end some technical assistance that I've been provided over the last couple months that we're likely going to have some changes to that. I don't know what those are. And the changes I'm describing are actual assessment questions that we ask of all of our programs. So this includes demographic information, personal identifying information, barriers that they may be having, and exit information. Where do they go after they leave a program? And all of that's really important for what we're measuring and the impact that we have in our 5-year plan. And I would just recommend to this group to look at the outcomes in that 5-year plan, look at those metrics as you're thinking about what do we need, what do we want to let HUD know in terms of let's maintain the current data collection. And is there anything novel or a gap in what we need to do the good work? So check out that 5-year plan with the context that there are likely changes coming down from HUD, and we don't know what those are. So if you'd like to maintain what we have, consider that as maybe one of the first steps as you embark on what you could. And just appreciate everyone in advance for working on that.
I see a hand up, Ruby.
Sorry, I'm a chatty Kathy today. I appreciate all this information. Daniel, I was just curious if there was any insight you had on what these comments would, like what would come from these comments. I get a little weary about, and I know that this is very important, so I want us to get this work done. And I'm just thinking about how are they going to be responding to each of our comments, or how is it going to kind of be received by HUD with so many comments being made? If you had any insight on that.
Yeah, the next step, and Bella and Marvin will work on this together, is getting the links to that process outlined for the work group, so everyone knows the sequence for that. And then to your question, can you repeat that last part actually, Ruby? I just want to make sure I get that right.
Sure, yeah, no problem. I was just curious what the process is for them receiving our comments and maybe how they evaluate those, or does everybody kind of get the same response, or do they respond individually? That's kind of my question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a portal to the federal registry. So this is a federal process. And then the part that's going to be, I think, a challenge to be met is getting creative on how we have if you all want a unified voice, because HUD only allows one person, we ask that each person put in their own comment. And then to answer the second part, yes, HUD responds to every single comment that they get. So in a community this large, I've seen, just as an example, and I know Bella has her hand up, she's Marvin and Bella are really leading this effort. But what I've seen in other communities is a shared response, or something that others could use and also paste into the federal registry. Other than that, I think that work group's task is going to figure out what is the best way to give that input and what input to give. And I'll step back. Bella, please.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, I agree. And you had, that was like the first question. So thank you, Ruby, for that question, because it was the first question pretty much, or one of the first ones that I had at least. And I think Marvin and I were both just like, well, how does this look, And so understanding, especially Daniel's understanding of the context as to how do we format this, right? Because we can only, there are some parameters around it. There needs to be, this one common voice. So if we're compiling a lot of different voices into one common voice, we have to make sure that we do diligence for it to, come across collectively, but integrating all of those different opportunities, because if they're going to be responding to us and reading all of these things, having them come in from different directions, might not serve the best. But for us to approach it from a common, and this is not for us to decide, this is for this, work group to decide. So we need to move this forward. But I did want to just say I had my hand up because Christina's in the room, and she had left a question that said, or a comment, please make sure links are sent out for everyone to comment to HUD. So we have to discuss this too. How do we receive these comments from everybody? We want to be able to get this diverse communication into HUD. And if we have to compile them, also how do we get it out to everyone? So, the technologies behind it, this is all stuff we have to work through in very, very quick order because we're less than, 2 months away from having to submit this. So for people that are interested, just know this needs to be a regular communication very quickly, very often, until we can figure out the formatting and how to receive the comments, but also to compile them with integrity to be able to submit them. There's a lot of different components here for sure.
Any other hands? Any other questions? Not seeing any. I can report back that the Continuum of Care Board at their last meeting voted to stand up a point in time count committee. So I'm not sure if my agenda just is missing the slash or work group. I think that that's a beautiful thing, and I know that we recommended it. We will hopefully continue to support. But identifying next steps may include figuring out what the true scope of work is. And if we have any quick updates, I'd like to lean into Catherine or Daniel or staff that may be working around this and where this effort is sitting. Thank you.
I'm not sure if staff has any input, but I do know the COC board did not actually stand up this committee that we're speaking of right now, but it is on our agenda for this very next meeting to be done. So any back end work that can be done in preparation now would be helpful for the next board meeting so we could get started immediately following that.
Thanks, Ruby. I don't know how I missed that. I really thought that was part of the last month's agenda. Tells
I
you
did
gotta
too, and
actually-
yeah, there's a miscommunication, and I think that we all are on the same page now, though. So we're going to be moving forward with this with in very quickness. So,
Hey, Ruby, what's the name of the committee that you're referring to?
oh, this is what we're planning on standing up, was the work group surrounding the data, the HMIS data standards and the comment period to HUD.
Okay.
No, this was
Oh.
around the point in time count.
Oh, I'm sorry, then I apologize. I retract my statement. We do have the point in time count committee stood up.
Thank you. I feel much relieved that I did not misread that one. Next steps would include that a committee set up with complete a scope of work, send out invites for folks to do it. And I wanted to know if staff had any insight on if any work has been done or we just need next steps to get started.
Offices, we were statewide, so each of the offices
Marvin, I personally have not done any work on that on behalf of the committee. I would suggest the next step is working closely with Catherine and Kelsey, who are the COC, who staff the COC committee and can help us navigate some of those federal processes to ensure we're in step with the overall COC.
Fair enough.
So I would say that that's a good next step, that we can get into the technical details of submission and what it looks like to click the buttons, put info in, and
I have volunteered to be in it. Thanks.
Alex, you're off mute.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All righty. Is there any Any other words anyone would like to add to that wonderful point in time count committee getting itself up, started, and running?
I'm just promoting Janelle to panelist now. She might have something to say.
Okay, great.
There we go.
Hi, Janelle.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I do not have anything else to add for that.
Okay. Alrighty. Our agenda has a schedule for a break in 20 minutes. So I am going to inquire, do we want to start the point in time count report and then take a break when need be?
Yeah, I actually would encourage us to do that. I'm not sure if Janelle is still on the call, but it's great. Oh, there you are, Janelle.
Yeah.
Having her here is going to be great for any kind of details that we may need to go over. Let's start that and let's take our 3 p.m. break, see where we're at, and then come back and finish the rest. There is a lot in this presentation, so I am pretty sure we'll fill up the rest of the time with that presentation.
Great. Bella?
Yeah, do we want to give context to this so that everybody's on the same page as to why we're presenting it, or do we want to come back and then, you know, give the context for it?
Yeah, I think
The context is that we got a chance to see this report last week. We spent 2.5 hours digesting a portion of the report. We didn't get through the whole, but once again, it's a lot of data for folks to absorb. So we wanted to make sure that we gave plenty of time so that we can hear the report and then folks can start giving us questions so that if we look back at it, we will be drawing from our community's queries and not just necessarily our own. At this time, I will pass it. Is that a good enough set of context? Anybody want to know more?
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. I just wanted to make sure that we were providing, you know, kind of the parameter or a vessel for everyone to understand. I think it's really important in case anybody has missed, because I know that there's a lot of different communications going on and such. This is about to be released. This is going to be published, public. And because it has a lot of information in it, and because there is a lot of work that has went into this, you know, I personally feel better prepared for sure, but we had a lot of time to be able to ask questions and be prepared. So Marvin and I and Daniel, you know, were this week saying this is really important for everyone else to at least understand some significant talking points and areas of this, so that, you know, if you don't always have the time to read through so much information like this, and you haven't spent 2.5 hours talking to the people directly involved in this, that you also would feel a little bit better prepared for any questions or any comments that start happening in the community when it does get published. So that's what I would like to say about it. And thank you for being here, Janelle, to support.
I will hand the floor over to Daniel and Janelle. Let us know what we can do to.
Great. Thank you, Marvin. Janelle, if I could enlist you in giving just a quick some background on this report. I know it's been a Herculean effort by the team, and it's a one of a kind for the KPRHA. And while you do that, I'll pull it up for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, are you sharing your screen or do you need me to?
I was going to share my screen.
Great.
How is that looking for everybody? Thumbs up?
Looks good.
So this is the 2024 King County Pit Unsheltered Findings presentation. This was our point in time count results from the 2024 unsheltered pit. Janelle, would you like to kick us off with any words before we get into the presentation agenda?
Yeah, just a couple of things for this committee. So you guys as a whole committee are the first to see this presentation. This is a draft presentation that we are hoping can be used for the co-chairs here to present to the advisory board. And then this would also be presented to the KCRHA governing board next month. That this would be included in the governing board packet that will go out this week. And we're working through our communication plan has been approved for getting this out into the public. So this is the first stages. Like Daniel had mentioned before, we invited some people from the advisory board, coordinated entry and performance committee to come help us to develop some of those talking points. So in addition to having the report, the slide deck, there will also be a short one-pager document that will help you all to have, sort of the key messaging, because the report in total is 136 pages. So we don't expect you guys to commit that to memory. So we wanted to make sure that we were preparing tools for you guys to be able to talk about this report. And so that is going to be the schedule. And just real quick, I did want to take some time to send my appreciation to everyone who was able to participate last week. That was really, really helpful for us to get some feedback, as this is our first time as KCRHA releasing such a large report. And that was just really critical for us to have some learnings before we present it out into the public. And also that we are, like I said, this is something new for us, so we're always welcome any feedback or suggestions that you guys would have on how we're releasing this report. So so welcome that, and I'm sure there's always room for improvement there. And so that will, like I said, that will be the normal schedule cadence for it to go out. We're playing around a little bit with when it will be on the website. And so the website will have the complete report as a PDF so people can download that. We are also working on a listserv of some of our partners that have helped us with the report to make sure that they get a personal email with the report. And then you'll see it also referenced in the next KCRHA newsletter that will be for April. Then people will also get a notification of the report being available. With that, I'll turn it to Daniel.
Thank you, Janelle. So what we have in front of us here is the presentation agenda. I'll go through these slides. These first ones. What I'd ask is if you could hold your questions and answers to the end, unless you're really compelled to ask some clarifying questions. We did build in space for this so that you can ask some questions. So today I'm going to start us off by just doing a recap of the methodology, and then we'll get right into the results of that. And pardon me if I have there we go. So here are the goals. Bella, I think you stated these earlier. We're going to review these key findings. My hope is that this informs your future planning goals, not just at this committee, but as we share this information throughout our COC, that everyone can use this. And then just to prepare you for the public release of this. So here's the methodology review. I know this is a very busy slide. It's put together by Dr. Zach Omquist at the University of Washington. What we use here is the same methodology approved by HUD as we did in 2022. Respondent-driven sampling is different from traditional point-in-time counts that were done previously in King County, rather than doing an on-the-ground, volunteer-driven push to identify and survey those living unsheltered on the street. It's been modified to a hub model where we have respondents come to the hub site, were surveyed, and then estimates built on those surveys using factoring from our sheltered population. So really moving from what you might see as um, um, an outreach effort where you go out and count looking for folks to a more statistically sound method that involves doing outreach and seeding and having respondents who receive a coupon give a referral to the next person they know experiencing homelessness, who then can come in and do the survey. And what that does is it builds up a network chain of individuals and responses to our surveying, which is then used to give us a statistically reliable estimate of those experiencing unsheltered homelessness. Now, having Janelle here is also very nice because Janelle has done this twice in our community. Janelle, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I think Marvin's done it twice in our community. I
Marvin
was just a
too.
volunteer manager the first year. I think the only thing, and I defer to Marvin, is that we have, as the first visual there, what we're showing is like the first survey and then the next survey and how it branches out. So that social network. And then the sort of the starburst graph is what it would look like to have a very, tight knit network. And so what this is doing is measuring that length of that network, and the longer the length, then the more people that we're seeing. And then the longer the length also will demonstrate that we're reaching into areas and talking with people that wouldn't necessarily maybe come to a day center or to a shelter program, et cetera. And so the nice thing about this is that it's getting to more of of surveying people that it's not just those that are that would come in or that we can visibly see, but really analyzing that network and the strength of that network. And so that's some of the graphs that you're seeing here is kind of articulated in a few different ways. And I don't know if Marvin had anything to add there.
That was a good way of that was good. I have nothing to add on that one. And I'm off mute. Yes. Thank you. And I'll give it back to Daniel.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, Janelle. These were the hub locations where we did the surveying throughout King County. I want to thank Janelle and the entire UW team and the community impact team in selecting these hubs, as well as our former chief, Owen. This is an effort that did take quite a bit of time to select these hubs to carefully try to get a representative sample throughout our community. You'll see that these were strategically placed. In regard to the unsheltered work group that's being stood up, this is one of the areas that we would like to have evaluated and some recommendations on. So now we're going to go right into the data review. And we're going to start here by just displaying here for you that total increase in the number of people experiencing homelessness in 2022. That was an increase of 26%, and you can see those broken out by our unsheltered homeless, those who are experiencing literal homelessness out on the street, staying in their vehicles, and other places not meant for human habitation. And then in the other category, you see that 42% increase, and these are folks who are staying in shelters, transitional housing, and safe haven. And so when we take a look at this slide, these are our, we're really just narrowing on the unsheltered increases here from 2022, which is a rise of 28%. And then in the change of number of people experiencing chronic homelessness in the unsheltered category, that went up significantly to 117%. And you can see here in these slides, we put what the national average is for those increases. This slide is a comparison of our 10 largest COCs and where we saw, rank, if you will, in unsheltered homelessness in this. I do want to caution folks that this slide is really just for context. You really have to dive deep into each one of these areas to understand the context to those increases in these COCs. I really do appreciate how our COC co-chair, Ruby Tuesday Romero, put it, is really thinking about this as not a comparison between us and other COCs, but taking this to understand the context of where we are nationally, but really looking to compare ourselves to our own outcomes year over year. Ruby, would you like to add anything, or did I misstate anything there on your behalf? Okay, I'll continue on. Here is another comparison. This is our chronic homeless percentages. And here we start to get into the demographics of the 2024 unsheltered point in time count. You can see here that we use the U.S. Census estimates for population in the Seattle-King County area, and that's that gray line there. So this is a way to spot disproportionalities between our racial categories. These racial categories, just for everyone's awareness, these aren't set by KCRHA, they're not set by the DOC. These are prescribed to us by HUD. And you can see in our major categories here, we do note disproportionalities amongst many of our marginalized communities. And for those of you that are wondering what some of the acronyms, those are spelled out on the right-hand side. Gender identity and age. When we zoomed in at gender identity and age, these were some of the key findings. 77% of those who experienced unsheltered homelessness identified as male. They were between the, oh, excuse me, I'm having my screen got covered up there. We're between the ages of 35 and 44. 25% reported experiencing homelessness between turning 18 years old of the unsheltered group. And then something here that's going to, I think, catch your attention right away is that we had a 98% drop in the number of people who self-identified as being transgender. Marvin?
I want to acknowledge that it's just about 3 o'clock, and if we like to consider taking a 5-minute break. Does that sit well with the presenters?
That sits well with me. I have to, I would love to use the bathroom actually. So great.
Thank you. All righty. It is 2:59. We'll see everyone back at 3:05. We'll give an extra minute. All right. I am just checking in to see if folks have returned. Thumbs up, work well, or come back on camera. Thanks, Ruby. Tamara, Victoria, Ben. All right. I do believe everyone has returned. Are the presenters Daniel, Janelle, y'all ready to go?
Okay,
Okay.
great. Can you hear me again?
Yep, where everyone's
Oh.
back and we're handing it back over to you and Janelle.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, great. Can I get a thumbs up, fella? You can see this. Marvin, you can see this. Great. Thanks, everyone. So our health and well-being, part of the report, these are some of the significant findings from that. Of those experiencing unsheltered homelessness, they reported 51% report experiencing a significant disability. 47% reported a substance use disorder. 34% reported suffering from a serious mental illness. And there's some context around this domestic violence percentage point, which I'm sure will come up in QA later. We'll dive into that a little bit deeper, but I do want to note that 17% is entirely describing those that are experiencing unsheltered homelessness who said that their cause of homelessness was domestic violence. I'll go in that a little bit more detail in the Q&A section. Here, for domestic violence survivors, of those that identify as domestic violence survivors, 50% of them identified as women, and 41% of women experiencing sheltered homelessness cited DV as a primary cause. I know this slide could be a little bit confusing, and with the previous slide. So actually, I'm going to take a moment to pause and see if anyone has any questions about this. I don't want to leave you without understanding the last two slides, kind of recalibrating. Please, Bella.
I just wanted to clarify, did you say 57%? Because I thought I heard 50, but it says 57 on the slide. Thank you.
That's correct, 57. Apologies on that.
Hi, this is Tamara, and just as a former DV advocate and survivor, like that number could be grossly underreporting the reality of people's experiences. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in there.
I agree, Tamara, as another DV survivor. I am alarmed already personally at statistics like this, but I inherently feel like it is underreported.
I just wanted to hop in here and say thank you to Tamara and Bella for both stating those concerns and just upholding or, uplifting the fact that sometimes maybe people don't feel comfortable talking about that experience. And so I like to see that we're talking about it and that there is a discussion around how many people are truly experiencing that situation and just showing support out there to anyone who is experiencing it, that it's okay to talk about.
Yeah, thanks everyone. This is very helpful. I think in our talking point document, we'll add some more context. We haven't had the chance to run these or to review this with the Coalition on Ending Gender-Based Violence of like, you know, how this data. So that is in the plan for us to talk with them about it as well. And I think maybe they could help us put together some more talking points around it too. But I think, yeah, a lot of that with it being a self-reported and where the hubs were located and having more of an open setting, I think all of those can definitely come into play.
Bella?
I would like to say that even within this meeting, if two persons that have that lived experience immediately noted that just the response, and this is why I felt, and I know that it sounded like Marvin and Daniel felt the same, to get this information out into the public is going to provide a lot more information, possibly from a lot more people, which is a good thing.
Thank you, Bella. Thank you all for elevating those questions and making those comments. I know I am taking notes of these, and yes, one of the next steps that we have is to bring this to that Coalition for Ending Gender-Based Violence so that we can understand more deeply and get some alignment on what should be impacting the way that we collect data. I just want to say a word about self-report. That is one of the trying to find the right way to describe this. I think this is one of the benefits and the trade-offs is we get to hear directly from others, and yet they all may come with their own reasons for why they may report or under-report. What I hope though is that we still trust the information that we get from those that we survey, and remember these are estimates. So these estimates, as we go forward in time, our goal is always to improve so that we are consistently confident in the results that we get. And through our analysis and with the work of UW and our analytics team, the confidence levels for these estimates remain high. This is our chronic homelessness slide. I think 66% of those unsheltered met the criteria for chronic homelessness. For those of you who are not sure about the definition, I do just want to take a moment that these are folks who have identified a vulnerability, a barrier of mental illness, substance use disorder, or other long-term disability that impedes their normal activities of daily living. And they have experienced homelessness on the streets for a year or more, or 4 episodes or more that add up to a year. 40% of those who are identified as having chronic homelessness reported a substance use disorder. 34% reported suffering from a serious mental illness. And of those who experienced DV, 17%, of those who are chronically homeless, 17% of them cited DV as a reason for experiencing homelessness. I would say that in some ways this is not surprising because in order to meet the definition for chronic homelessness, we would need to see one or more of these barriers. Families and children, again, these are key takeaways from our report in our final conclusion. A negative 58% drop in the number of unsheltered homelessness for households with children. These are households with at least one adult and one child under the age of 18. And what we see here is that the rate at which Native Hawaiians or Pacific Islanders, this is the racial category, are represented here relative to the overall. So we saw 5 times more of those household types.
Wow, thank you, Daniel. I'm sorry I had to interject, but like that point is so powerful. That point is so powerful, especially as a Pacific Islander woman. who like this information is resonating so deeply, and I'm so grateful for how you are presenting it. And just the impact it's having on me emotionally is both affirming and validating and like giving me hope and excitement. And then also I'm like, oh, this is my people's reality right now. So like all the reason why I'm going to recommit and keep recommitting until this is a zero, like there is no homelessness. That's my goal. I love, thank you. I'm sorry to just geek out and like gush all over you guys right now, but this is so powerful. And I want to take the opportunity every time Pacific Islanders are uplifted in the community, you're honoring us. And I appreciate and love you for that. Because we're sick of being overlooked and invisible. So thank you. Love you guys.
Back to Daniel.
Sorry if my dork energy kind of dominated the session right there, but I just wanted to, yeah, express gratitude.
Danielle, you're gonna go over the veterans or?
I am a bit unsure.
Danielle, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
He might be having some connectivity issues with his audio.
Okay, no problem. I'll
He's
pull
here,
it up
yeah.
here.
Hi all, can you hear me?
Yep.
I apologize. Not exactly sure what happened. Then again, is that coming back up for y'all?
I have it shared on my screen, Daniel, just in case.
Thank you, Janelle. Yeah, sorry about that. It looks like I just got kicked from the Bluetooth. So veterans, this is a subpopulation of the point in time camps. This is part of the report that we have to do this subpopulation analysis. And when we dug a little bit deeper, looking at this particular group, 80% identified as men, 54% reported living with significant disability. And you can see there, 48% identified as having a serious mental illness, and 44% reported substance use disorder.
Hey, Daniel. Your audio is doing that thing where it cuts in and out again, just a heads up.
Oh. Just 1 second, everybody. Let me see if. How about now? Any better?
Yeah, that sounds better.
Okay, great.
How does, do other people think it sounds better?
Somewhat, yeah.
How about now? Any changes? Still good? Okay.
Yeah, it sounds better.
All right. We'll go back to it. Vehicle residency. I know this is an important group for many of us who are doing this work. 28% of those who were experiencing unsheltered homelessness again reported living in vehicles not meant for human habitation. I will just make a note there that vehicles for HUD are historically not considered meant for human habitation, generally speaking. There are some strict requirements that they go into detail on what kind of vehicle you might be living in that wouldn't necessarily count as being unsheltered, but those are very specific. For the majority of anyone staying in a vehicle, that is not considered a placement human habitation. Of those in vehicle residency, and I think this is a data point that is very important for us to understand, is that 41% of them identified as women, which is higher than the overall of those experiencing unsheltered homelessness at 22%. So we do have a disproportionality here with vehicle residency data point. And this slide shows this is where we're getting into some sub-regional portions of our findings. This is networks by last stably housed locations. And what you'll see here is that as we had respondents coming in for surveys to do the estimates, what you see in that column to the right is the count of responses we got from those areas and the total percentage of those responses that were used for the estimation. Now, I think you were closer to work on this. Is there anything you'd like to add?
By last stably housed by location. I don't think so. I think one of the key findings that we found is that people were generally from the region where they were being surveyed, where they last had stably housed. And that rung true especially for South King County. Definitely didn't see a lot of movement between the different subregions in South King County. And we also noted some limitations with this survey with this question. One, we don't know when people were last stably housed. So that could have been last week, could have been 3 years ago, with the showing of the increase of people experiencing chronic homelessness, which is 3 years or more or 4 or more episodes. That could be longer when they were last stably housed. And so that I think was a limitation. And then we also had a limitation where we didn't ask where they slept last night or where they were last night. As we know, most people aren't sleeping at night if they're experiencing unsheltered homelessness. So those would be things that we would be working with the PIT committee to maybe improve a little bit for next year.
Thank you, Janelle. And Janelle's comments there and focusing on improvement is really in line with our mission of regionality here at the KCRHA and trying to understand unsheltered homelessness outside of just Seattle, but with the rest of the county.
Yeah, and the only other note was with North King County, with it being so close to North Seattle, some of that boundaries I feel like could be a little bit blurred because people are easily going between North King County up to Shoreline area for resources and then back down to Seattle for resources. So that the North King County number could be a little, I think that would be worth examining a little bit more.
An improvement from the 2022 count to this year's or 2024 is the inclusion of Vashon. We made a concerted effort to include the island into this year's count. And that's going to be something also that we'll further explore for improvement. Folks, we live in a geographically and culturally diverse area. So these are just some of the areas that we know are unique to Seattle and King County. So we're working towards trying to be as inclusive as possible. So precipitating events and shelter needs. So these are what many refer to as causes of homelessness or causes of this most recent episode. So 45% of those reported loss of a job as leading to this current episode of homelessness. 8% reported eviction. And some feedback we got, 30% of those respondents wanted ease of enrollment when considering shelter programs. And 16% wanted personal space or clean and sanitary conditions in the shelter when we were asked how we could improve our programming. We're coming to the end of the presentation. These are some recommendations that were put together. These are very general, not really a work plan or really even just objectives. This is just really summarizing what we're seeing from the report and the conclusion. To continue to expand shelter options to meet express needs, prioritize ongoing disability and mental health services. We saw how this group is affected by those vulnerabilities. Continue regional and demographic equity-based focus, and develop upstream strategies for youth and other groups that we talked about here today. So what happens next? And then we'll get into the QA section. We're going to share, we're going to have this information shared with the COC board. We're going to be making this report public, as Janelle said, and we're working how to best publish that on the website. And then, my ask to you is that this provides insights and analysis for you to continue to plan and end homelessness and use these for your strategy making. And then we're going to continue expanding our analysis, looking in and zooming in on veteran-specific data and Vashon Island data, and some of those other data points you saw where we have some negative percentage drop, those that identify as transgender and families with children. With that, I'm going to end the presentation and we can get into the discussion.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Janelle. While I know it's a lot to take in, let's see if we have anything in the chat to start us out. Bella, please.
Oh, okay. Sorry. At first. Thank you so much for that, Daniel. I know it is a lot of information, but it is really nice to again have these like succinct points up there. And just, on my end, I'd like to reiterate that we really don't know what's going to happen about questions or comments or anything that's going to come in from this. And so preparing as best as we can to know what is about to be put in the public is at least my best request. But I did want to say that Christina had a question at first, and she had stated we only did 17 sites for the unsheltered count, or that it was a question, and that we had 9 in 2022, and we had 12 plus 1 phone line and 1 added midway in North Bend. And then Vashon is counted as 1, but there were 3 sites in Vashon. Is there a discrepancy that anybody else is seeing there? Or yeah, how can we address, if you want to address Christina's question?
I think Ruby has her hand up, and yeah, I'm double checking these, what we had ended up with the total. So
Thank you.
Let me count them up one more time, make sure I have that correct.
What I'd like to do is actually, if we could, Christina, on that one, I think we'll want to just be very thoughtful and making sure we audit that. Thank you. I'm going to take that and copy that so we can look into that. And then do want to say, yes, we explicitly, yes, we did have a family phone line, and that was a new addition this year. That and that is also something that we're looking for improvement, that we would bring back to the unsheltered work group for the phone for phone. Really, the goal here is to do this better each time. So Christina, if you're okay with it, I think Janelle and I can touch base with you and reconcile, and I'll copy the chat here. I don't know if I see it in chat. I'm struggling to see that. No, specifically.
The
Okay, let's
QA section, which is separate from the chat at the bottom menu.
Yeah. And with that, Ruby.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm interested to see that what Christina was talking about too, because yeah, with Vashon, there was 3 different sites, and I'm excited to read. I believe there's going to be an in-depth kind of look into the Vashon section and just see how those different hubs performed. As someone that lives near Vashon and in West Seattle, I'm just interested to see kind of what we got from that perspective. Is it possible to bring up the slide that showed the recommendations? I had a note on that.
Yes, I'll pull that back up.
Yes, thank you. I think it was surrounding prioritizing the okay, maybe next.
There we go.
Yeah, this one. Okay, so it says prioritize ongoing disability and mental health services. My only question about that recommendation is there been an established protocol, or is there actually engagement with both the mental health services and disability services on how to prioritize those, or has the conversation started on that? And just curious where that's lying. Then the last question I had was the develop upstream strategies. I just wanted to uplift that there was a situation at hand that was brought up to me by some people in the youth, not the youth action board, but in the youth space, that had mentioned about the discrepancy in coordinated entry and length of time of homelessness for the youth, and what is considered homeless for youth is not the same as what's considered for adults, and that can create a discrepancy in how they get into services. And I don't know if this is the right space to raise that. I know that's coordinated entry question, and I'm bringing it up there too, but I just wanted to uplift that that concern there, and hopefully that can be something that does get see better results in the next point in time count for youth. I don't know if that's helpful, but I just wanted to kind of give those 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Damon?
I can you hear me all okay still?
I can still hear you.
Yeah, okay, great. I don't think that the community impact team is working currently. We're not currently working with anyone to address disability mental health services. Our role is really the data management, collection, and analysis. This is just a reflection of what we're seeing in the conclusion. So I think that's the best I can answer to that. In terms of the youth and young adults, again, just kind of keeping it close to what our work is about, and the work that Janelle led here and others. Just making sure that when we plan, we bring in those groups so that they're part of the development process on how we execute this. I would say my strongest recommendation for how to improve this report. That said, I'm sure others have some thoughts on that. I'll pass it over to whomever might want to speak on that.
Yeah, just thanks for that, Daniel. Those are 2 very honest and good answers, and I'm looking forward to how we can collaborate in the future on those 2 subjects. Thank you.
And Ruby, I think you are correct on your last comment about youth and prioritization process. That would be a good venue for the coordinated entry committee. I know that they have raised that question of how younger folks can access mainstream resources with that current prioritization process. So that would be a good venue to have that go to. And anyone is welcome to attend and listen in on the coordinated entry committee. So just want to open that up so that you guys are aware it is a public forum, just like this one.
And I love attending publicly. I would like to sit on the committee, but is there a process for that yet, or are we still waiting?
Yeah, Marvin, I think I can speak to this. We're working, so that document, or the one consolidated application where you can apply to all the different work groups and committees or specific ones, is going to be available very soon. And I, as a committee member, will make sure that I send it out to all the appropriate people so they can either send it to someone they know or sign up themselves when that's ready.
All right, I'll continue to attend as a public viewer. Daniel, is there anything else?
No,
Janelle?
I don't have anything. I would just continue to encourage any discussion right now. I am taking notes. I also, like you all, we all want to be prepared for a Q&A from the public. So any questions that you're raising here that can't be answered, are going to be questions others have. So we're compiling some FAQs on our end so that we can be able to respond quickly to questions that do come up.
Janelle, anything in closing?
No, appreciate you guys' attention to this presentation, and work with Marvin and Bella in getting this information in front of the advisory board.
Thank you. Well, I gave back time last month. I'm going to allow hopefully my co-chair will be able to give time back. So Bella, takes home.
Thanks. I guess one of the things I would like to request communications wise is that we again offer where this might be going out to, what time this might be going out to. I've seen the comments written in, but I want to also, because this is being recorded verbally, let people be prepared to know what avenues they can see this, participate with it, that we know of, at least right now, so that, you know, we communicate all of the different aspects as best as possible before I give everybody back a lot of time for their day. Janelle, Danielle, do you have any?
Yes, I think you're asking for when it's posted to the website, we should let you guys know. Yes, I'm just working with the communication team on that, and so when it gets posted, then we'll send you guys an email with that link, and then there'll be a PDF. You can read it online, or you can print it, but get some printer ink ready to go. And then yeah, some other I don't know who else we should notify when it gets, probably the advisory board as well. I apologize, this isn't still totally fleshed out, but that would be the process. We could definitely let you guys know as soon as it gets posted, and send you guys all an email so you will have the ability to read the whole thing.
Thank you, Janelle. I remember hearing earlier in the meeting is that there are other outreach channels that you're looking at, or that you are wanting to communicate this through. So I wanted to make sure that if we knew of any of those specific groups of people or email lists that, you know.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That's being developed, and we hope to send that out around the same time it gets published to the website. there's been some people who've been, kind of asking, and we want to be mindful that they're not hearing it like third party, that, we've been able to like send, another message just to be to the volunteer group and some of our sub-regional partners, et cetera, that helped with some of the hub selections, and having a shorter listserv and making sure that we can get that out to those people. So that will all be happening within this week and next week. We really want to just get this out to the community and have you guys start going through it. And so we're trying to get all of that semi happening within the same time period, being mindful of the structure of the boards and public meetings. So today we're doing the System Performance Committee, and then March 20th this week, or around that time, the governing board will get their packet for their April meeting. Then the COC advisory board will be April 2nd. We'll make sure that that's on the agenda. And then the last one will be the governing board presentation, which is April 20th. They'll be the last ones to get the presentation, but that is because they need their packet 1 month ahead of time. So they'll get the materials at the same time everyone else will. It's just their presentation will be last.
Okay. Thank you, Janelle. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not a communications professional, but I will, yeah, so that's kind of the plan.
You have a lot of data to share there, so I appreciate it. In case anybody is a part of any of those other groups, or you at least we understand how this is going to be communicated and through how, at least initially. So thank you so much. As long as there isn't any other questions or anything, we have 18 minutes to give back to people. What a gift. Let's see. I do not see anything else. So with that, thanks, Marvin, for allowing me to give back this time gift to everyone today. And I trust that you all will enjoy it in whatever way, shape, or form you do. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for participating.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for another great meeting.
Thank you. All righty, are we closing up that? Alex? Catherine?
Yep, Daniel, did you see my message in the chat?
I did not. Oh,
No,
me?
Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that. I think
We can chat. Bye, Marvin.
we can talk on the side on that. I think we have to work with Lisa. Thank you, Marvin, if you aren't still on.
All right.
Just because Lisa, I think we just need to communicate a little more closely, because Lisa approved the communication plan. She's the chief of communications, and she approved that with, her channel with Kelly and Simon. So I just want to make sure that if there's anything we need to change, and I know we've been talking, Catherine, about the April schedule for System Performance Committee 1 and 7.
Yeah. So the last time we talked, you shared with me that it would be better to do the PIT presentation in May and keep the systems performance measures 1 and 7 for April. So that's what's on the April agenda.
That's fine. I don't think there's any controversy there. My obligation is to make sure that it gets presented to the System Performance Committee. And then, the May one, I don't think there's anything out of step with that. The co-chairs can give an update that they got the presentation. We can include that in the material, which is, I thought we had talked about that. So then they had a month to look at that. And then in May, we did the presentation. So I just need to work with Janelle and just get everyone to make sure that we all understand.
Okay.
Are we still recording? I think want to make sure we're not.
Oh, I can't say that again.
No, I need to end this meeting.
Oh,
Oh, wait, I can stop it.